Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
We're going to continue talking about the troubling truth behind elephant tourism in today's program. Remember, last time we opened this subject and talked about some of the conditions that elephants have to endure in elephant sanctuaries and elephant tourist attractions in Southeast Asia, mostly. And yeah, as we did talk about last time, this does sound like a fun thing to do. Go ride on an elephant, go see an elephant show or whatever. But there is kind of a dreadful truth behind closed doors in regard to how those elephants are treated.
Yeah, well, today we're going to continue talking about what goes on in some of these countries that offers, an experience with an elephant, how they're taken care of, especially at some of these sanctuaries. The animal sanctuaries that are being set up more and more are usually for the older animals that are retiring, perhaps from zoos or amusement, venues. But how are the elephants treated there? We're going to find out. I know that in this particular article, they talked to someone who worked at an elephant conservation place, and she was describing some of the things that go on. So let's get started. We're going to read through Day 2 of the troubling truth behind elephant tourism, and then we'll be back.
As the number of centers offering elephant rides and shows has begun to decline, most Southeast Asian countries are seeing a surge in the number of elephant sanctuaries. Modeled as retirement homes for abused or elderly elephants, they allow visitors to observe and, in some cases, participate in bathing or feeding activities. Outwardly, it looks as if these centers are an ethical alternative to traditional elephant centers. However, this type of tourism isn't always as beneficial for the animal residents as visitors might perceive it to be. Gemma Bullock works in elephant conservation at the Elephant Valley Project, EVP, a recognized rehabilitation center in Sen Monorom, Cambodia. Speaking to English Digest, she explained that tourist activities like bathing and feeding involve considerable behind-the-scenes control over the elephants to ensure tourist safety. This is often highly distressing and can be a source of trauma. One elephant we rescued previously worked in a location where she was made to sit in a river for 30 minutes, 4 times a day, while people climbed all over her, washing her body. As a result, she displayed more stressed behaviors than some elephants that came from riding camps. According to WAP, elephant sanctuaries with decent welfare conditions explicitly prohibit visitors from direct contact with the elephants. Instead, visitors follow the elephants as they forage for food and watch from a distance while they are bathed by handlers that they trust. It's all about allowing the elephant to express natural behaviors in freedom, Gemma explains. Ultimately, it's this careful consideration of elephant welfare that allows EVP and other conscientious sanctuaries like it to provide the relief that these extraordinary animals are entitled to.
Okay, guys, let's take a look at Day 2 of our troubling truth behind elephant tourism unit here. So, as the number of centers offering things like elephant rides and shows have begun to decline, or they've been, disappearing little by little, most Southeast Asian countries are seeing a surge in the number of elephant sanctuaries. If you see a surge in something, it just means a rapid increase or rise of something. It can happen very suddenly, but it's always an upward movement. So we're seeing a lot more of these elephant sanctuaries. Again, a sanctuary is usually a place of refuge for people or animals where they can go and feel safe. If you're going to an elephant sanctuary, there's a lot more land, and they can get out there and walk around. They're not in cages. And you're probably not going to be offered elephant rides at these sanctuaries, but you will be able to see the elephants, and some of these sanctuaries allow you to get closer to them. Maybe you can feed them or maybe even bathe them, but they just take better care of the elephants, supposedly. Let's read on to see if that's true or not.
Yep, we are talking specifically about elephant sanctuaries here. So, modeled as retirement homes for abused or elderly elephants, they allow visitors to observe and, in some cases, participate in bathing or feeding activities. So, they're modeled as retirement homes. So, basically, yes, they tell you that, oh, these are places where the animals go to retire, okay? And these are homes for elephants that were abused before, they were treated badly before, or these are old elephants that nobody wants anymore. They're elderly, and so if you come here, you will be able to observe them. You can look at them and stuff like that, and in some cases, you could actually participate in bathing or feeding activities. You could actually help clean the elephant, or you could actually feed the elephant, and outwardly, it looks as if these centers are an ethical alternative to traditional elephant centers. And if you're a tourist and you go there, you'll think, hey, aren't I a wonderful person? I'm not going to an elephant wildlife park to ride on them and contribute to their cruelty, or at least to contribute to the cruel way they are treated. Hey, I'm going to this sanctuary here. I'm helping these elephants retire and be treated with respect. And that's what it looks like outwardly. So outwardly just means on the outside or on the surface. Again, you don't see what goes on behind closed doors.
Right. Outwardly, yeah. So it looks like these centers are an ethical alternative to traditional elephant centers, the kind that allow all these elephant rides and things like that. Now, if you're talking about something that's ethical, it just means morally good. It doesn't necessarily mean legal and illegal. Morals have to do more with what's right and wrong. And your principles, a lot of people have good ethics and other people don't. So, yeah, ethical is the adjective form of the noun ethics. You'll hear about ethics a lot if you go into the field of, say, journalism or law. Even a doctor will have to, probably take an ethics course. So, yeah, doing the right thing, even if it's legal, sometimes people do the wrong thing. They're not ethical, they're unethical. Here, these centers are considered to be, a good alternative to traditional elephant centers, at least on the outside. If you don't look behind closed doors or examine it too closely, it looks like they're doing a better job.
And some of them might actually be very nice to those elephants.
True.
However, this type of tourism isn't always as beneficial for the animal residents as visitors might perceive them to be. Okay, so yes, indeed, on the surface, they do look nice for the elephants, but they're not always very beneficial for the animal residents, which would be the elephants or other kinds of animals living there. And they're not as beneficial for the animals as visitors might think they are. You will see these things going on. Of course, they will show you that the elephants are being treated well so that these environmental groups don't come down on them and put pressure on them. So, of course, they probably just show the good side and then they don't let anybody see the bad side. And they, of course, will kind of keep the visitors in the dark there. And the visitors, again, will think, hey, they're being nice to the elephants. What's wrong with this place?
And notice that they use this word perceive. If you perceive something, that's kind of the way you interpret what you're looking at. So, yeah, it's how they perceive them to be, their particular way of looking at something. Moving on to the next paragraph, we've got someone who's named Gemma Bullock, and she works in elephant conservation at the Elephant Valley Project, which is shortened to EVP. So if you're in some sort of conservation, field of conservation, it just means you're looking at something where you're trying to conserve it, keep it, protect it, maybe even restore something. Usually conservation areas or conservation companies, they're focused on the natural environment, keeping maybe wildlife, flourishing or thriving in a particular area. Of course, if it's an elephant conservation field, it just means they're trying to keep these animals and protect them, preserve their way of life so they're not abused or hurt by people.
And this particular organization is called the Elephant Valley Project, or EVP for short, and it is a recognized rehabilitation center in Sen Monorom, Cambodia. So it's recognized by conservation organizations around the world or by somebody. And they're saying that, yes, this is legitimate. It's a good place. They're taking good care of those elephants. Again, it's an elephant conservation project that's going on in this place in Cambodia. And speaking to English Digest here, she explained that tourist activities like bathing and feeding involve considerable behind-the-scenes control over the elephants to ensure tourist safety. So yes, indeed, they do have tourist activities there that feature bathing and feeding, but they need to have this enormous control over these particular aspects of their operation so that the tourists can be safe, and I'm sure that the elephants can also be safe as well.
Well, this is probably a good time to take a quick break. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to continue looking at day 2 of the troubling truth behind elephant tourism. Stay tuned.
大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是哈利。我们今天要阅读的文章是 Unit6 的第2天课程，探讨怎么样才是安置这些观光用大象的最好方法。我们看到第一段的第一句，随着提供骑大象和大象表演的中心数量开始减少，大多数东南亚国家的大象庇护所数量激增。The number of 是指什么的数量， number 要搭配复数名词，主词是 number， 所以要搭配第三人称单数动词。The number of babies being born in many countries is decreasing。许多国家的新生儿数量正在减少。要注意的是 a number of 是指一些， number 一样是搭配复数名词，但主词是 number 后面的复数名词，所以要搭配复数动词。A number of students are chatting with each other in the classroom。 一些学生正在教室里和彼此聊天。我们接着看到第一段的倒数第二句，从表面上来看，这些中心似乎是传统大象中心的人道替代。 As if 是仿佛好像的意思， As if 后面接一个副词子句来搭配一个主要子句。 As if 所接的子句如果有可能是事实，子句使用当时发生的时态。 Ken frowned as if he didn't think our proposal was practical。 肯皱起眉头，好像他不认为我们的提议是可行的。As if 所接的子句若是与事实相反，且发生的时间和主要子句同时， as if 子句的 be 动词用 were， 一般动词用过去式。 I don't know why my sister always talks to me as if she were my mother。 我不知道为什么我的姐姐对我讲话的方式仿佛她是我妈。As if 所接的子句若是与事实相反，且发生的时间比主要子句还早发生时， as if 子句的动词用过去完成式 had 加 VPP。 Peter acts as if he had prepared for the test well, but actually he just played all day。 彼得表现得好像他已经为考试做好了准备，但事实上他玩了一整天。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about the troubling truth behind elephant tourism. So we know that these centers that offer elephant rides and shows, they become less and less I wouldn't say less and less popular. They've just declined in number because people have been made aware of some of the treatment these elephants go through. And people are getting involved. Like our writer, Seb Morgan, he is the author of this unit. He's very concerned about this as well. In fact, in preparation to write about elephant tourism, he interviewed her about what they're doing. For English Digest, that was one of the steps he took to get more information. Well, she explained that tourist activities like bathing the elephants and feeding them actually involve considerable or a lot of behind-the-scenes control over the elephants to ensure tourist safety. You can imagine if you're feeding an elephant or even washing the elephant, the last thing they want is for that tourist to suddenly maybe excite the elephant reacts and hurts that person, or maybe even a child, because children think those elephants are great. So they have to go through, remember, very brutal training to get them to get rid of all their natural behaviors so that they're very, very obedient. And it actually hurts the elephant in the long run. She said this is often highly distressing and can be a source of trauma. So if something's distressing to you guys, it just causes you a lot of anxiety, maybe even some pain. Or sometimes it makes you sad. It brings a lot of sorrow into your lives. Something that I've always found distressing is going to the dentist. I know I'm a baby, but I hate going to the dentist. I'd rather go to the doctor and have some painful procedure there than go to the dentist. Because I don't know, it hurts more because it's close to, it's in your head,
Right.
Whatever hurts, it's right there. And so, yeah, going to the dentist is distressing to me.
Yeah, it can be, of course. It depends on what kind of procedure you're having. But you could also get some distressing news from your family, for example.
True. Yeah.
Like your pet cat died or something like that. That can be quite distressing. And also, this can be a source of trauma. Trauma is just some kind of physical harm or mental harm, psychological harm to somebody. Trauma can be just some kind of distressing experience. Hospitals have trauma centers where people are suffering from pain or from injuries or whatever.
It's usually an emergency room sort of place, right?
Exactly. So, yes, it could be a source of trauma or distress for those elephants. So, of course, they need to control all aspects of tourists' interaction with those elephants. These are projects that are set up to protect those elephants, but they need money somehow. So they're offering an opportunity for tourists to check out these elephants, but at the same time, they don't want to cause distress for the elephants. So they kind of have to find a happy medium somewhere in the middle.
Now, remember, this particular place rescues elephants that have been in entertainment venues or have been, living somewhere else, providing a lot of rides for tourists, etc. Well, Gemma, this is a quote because you see the quotation marks around the next couple of sentences. She says, one elephant we rescued previously worked in a location where she was made to sit in a river for 30 minutes 4 times a day, not just once or twice, but 4 times a day. And while she was sitting in the river, they would allow these tourists to climb all over her, washing her body. If you're close to an elephant or if you've been close, you'll notice their skin gets very dusty. I remember thinking, I wonder if they want a bath. That was actually my reaction being up close to their skin because it looks awfully dusty. But I'm sure they don't need 4 baths a day with people climbing on them. I think the fact that they were climbing on them was what was so distressing to this particular elephant.
Yeah, maybe they need a layer of mud on there to keep the mosquitoes off. I'm not quite sure, but yes, you'd need to talk to Jenna here to understand those things exactly here. But the point here is that people were climbing all over her, washing her body. So as a result, the elephant displayed more stressed behaviors than some elephants that come from riding camps. So riding camps can be quite stressful for elephants, and now this one seems to be even more stressful for those elephants to have human strangers interacting with you and stuff like that.
And they're probably laughing, with their friends as they're washing the elephants.
Yeah, and, hurling insults at the elephant and stuff like that.
Maybe.
Could be. I think elephants can pick up on those bad vibes, so watch out for that. Let's move on now to the next paragraph here. It says, according to WAP, elephant sanctuaries with decent welfare conditions explicitly prohibit visitors from direct contact with the elephants.
Cool.
So that's good. These sanctuaries will have decent welfare conditions. Decent means they're good, they're high quality, they're respectable, etc., and they fit certain standards. And they will clearly prohibit the visitors from coming in direct contact with the elephants. So if you're explicit about something, you don't beat around the bush. You get right to the point. You say exactly what you mean, and there's no question involved.
Now, the opposite is to be implicit. So if someone tells you something implicitly, it means it's not completely direct. It's not 直接说, which I always say. Which is a form of communication. Some people will be very explicit. If you say, do you like this? They'll go, no. And then other people will go, well, yeah, it's okay. If you like it, that's not being explicit. So they tell visitors, you can't touch the elephants. You can't be near them. Stay away. We're protecting them. So those are all good things that help protect the elephants that are there in the sanctuary. Instead, visitors follow the elephants as they forage for food and watch from a distance while they are bathed by handlers that they trust. So these are humans that take care of them every day and they trust them. Now, foraging for food is kind of a popular thing these days, especially if you watch cooking shows like I do. If you forage for something, it just means you're not going to the grocery store. You're going out, into the wilderness and trying to find mushrooms or things you can cook with that you can just pick that are wild. So they go out and they're looking for food just among, the wildlife there in the sanctuary. So that's nice. They can just get away from people for a while.
But the tourists can observe them. They can watch from a distance while the elephants are bathed by handlers that they trust. So yeah, they don't let the tourists come in there and wash the elephant 4 times a day. They have trained handlers to do that. So yes, they can watch the handlers bathe the elephants. So the elephants will know those handlers and the elephants will trust those handlers. And everybody's happy, everybody gets their pictures, and the elephants get to live a nice, long, and happy life in the sanctuary. Now, it's all about allowing the elephant to express natural behaviors and freedom, Gemma explains. So, yes, they're allowed to express themselves in a natural way, to be themselves, basically, as elephants, so they don't need to behave in an artificial way, like giving shows for tourists and stuff like that. That's not what an elephant would naturally do.
I think it's interesting right here where Gemma is stressing that, elephants want freedom just like people do. That's one of the things humans really want, and animals, of course, do as well, and that's freedom to choose what they want to do, to choose their own actions. So that's understandable. Ultimately, it says, it's this careful consideration of elephant welfare that allows EVP and other conscientious sanctuaries like it to provide the relief that these extraordinary animals are entitled to. If you're conscientious, you really think about what you do. It matters to you to do the right thing, especially if you have a job. You want to do your work very well. You don't want to come in late and just, waste time. That's important to you. So these are conscientious sanctuaries. They're very careful about the decisions they make when they are in regards to the elephant. They want to be good and kind to the elephants. And then, Tom, if you're entitled to something, what does that mean?
Well, you get what you deserve. You're supposed to get this. So yes, the animals are entitled to relief from these terrible conditions. They're supposed to have these things. They're not supposed to be tortured by other people. They deserve to be treated with respect. After all, they are the world's largest land animals. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
我们接着看到第二段的第二句，他在接受实用空中美语的采访时解释，诸如洗澡和喂食等观光活动都涉及对大象相当可观的幕后控制，以确保游客的安全。形容词 considerable 是指相当大的、相当多的。There has been considerable anxiety among the public about environmental pollution in Taiwan. 大众对于台湾的环境污染一直感到非常焦虑。另一个和 considerable 字形相似的形容词就是 considerate, C-O-N-S-I-D-E-R-A-T-E, 意思是体贴的。It's considerate of you to yield your seat to the pregnant woman. 你让位给那位怀孕的女士，真是贴心。另外 ensure 和 assure,A-S-S-U-R-E 都有确保的意思，但用法却不相同。Ensure 后面接事物或 that 子句作为受词。Strict regulations have been created to ensure the safety of employees in this factory. 严格的新规定被制定来确保这间工厂员工的安全。Assure 则是向某人保证的意思。所以 assure 后面接 somebody 再接 of 加名词，或是 assure 加 somebody 加 that 子句。If you come to work for our company, we can assure you of a high salary. 如果你来我们公司上班，我们可以向你保证高薪。我们看到全文的最后一句，最终正是这种对大象福利的深思熟虑，使 EVP 以及其他像他一样尽心的庇护所能为这些非比寻常的动物提供应得的慰藉。本句使用了分列句型 it is 或 it was 加强调部分加 that 加句子的剩余部分，表示正是怎么样的意思。此用法就是将一个句子要强调的部分，主词、受词、时间或地点放在 it is 和 that 中间，再将句子的剩余部分放在 that 子句之后。例如，原本这一句是 My parents' support helped me achieve my dream. 我父母的支持帮助我完成梦想。如果要强调我父母的支持，则将此句改成 It was my parents' support that helped me achieve my dream. 以上就是今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us again next time for another edition of our program. And hopefully, like us, you have learned something new about the way elephants are treated in various countries in the world. And hopefully, we can make things better for them in the future. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.